Alrighty, hello everybody, and welcome to our last day of Lunch and Learn for this week. I am Jeremy. I'll be leading our call today, part of the training team, and I will be running us through what we've got going on for today. I'll give some people some time to join in, and then we can get started shortly. Okay, I will quickly go through some of our usual opening stuff, and then give opportunity for anyone to ask some questions if we have anything or if anyone's curious. Um, we got a lot of great things. Check out our YouTube channel, our solutions marketplace, great place for applications and things, and we've got a lot of events coming up. So definitely check out all of these things because we've got a lot of useful things. Great things coming up, great things to check out, and some pretty cool events. So just a quick show off. We've got our YouTube channel. We've been putting up a lot of videos in the last week or so. A lot of performance implication things, kind of practices to be careful of and to make sure that you're tracking step by step. We've got a thing on the DocuSign module. Definitely pretty cool things there if you're curious about DocuSign and how that works. So definitely check our YouTube channel. We've been trying to keep things up there and add more and more content as much as possible. So if you have not subscribed to that and check it out, definitely some pretty cool things there. Uh, got our solutions marketplace, so marketplace.decisions.com. Great application to check out, try out, see if there's anything interesting or sticks out to you, and our accelerators and things you can try installing and seeing how they work. And we got a few videos on our YouTube channel for some of these things if you're curious about more. And then events. So again, we got events coming up. We got our Submerse that's starting next week. So running out of time to register for that. If you're curious or interested, definitely check that out. We've got a new project that we'll be going over to kind of demonstrate some of the basics, but some of the more unique aspects of things like API connections and things like that that we'll be doing in that Submerse. We've got a webinar coming up on the 15th. So if you're curious about AI solutions for things, definitely check that out. And then we've also got our now bi-weekly roadmap reviews. So every other Tuesday, if you're curious about what's coming up in decisions, you can register for that, join, and get information there. Um, but with that out of the way, we can go and move on to if we have any questions and things. And I'd be happy to answer any questions we have. And we do have questions from James. So you have questions about concerning tabs and menus. So why don't you go ahead and speak away, James?
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Um, yeah, I've been playing with those a little bit, and um, one of the issues we're running into when we're creating forms is that there's a lot of times where we want to hide and display different parts of the forms, and sometimes those can be big. So we've been using like the vertical scroll areas and horizontal scroll areas, and you know,
Hmm.
turning on and off different sections. But that gets a little cumbersome, especially when you're designing the form. So I
Yep.
had this wonderful idea of creating a tab form and then turning on and off tabs programmatically you know, and using that because then you've got the whole real estate and you just, dictate what tab you want to display at a time. But
Hmm.
it appears you can't do that programmatically. Um, I have set up a tab container like you're doing now, just the whole screen and I cannot find a way to make a tab programmatically without them clicking on it programmatically, like through an active form flow, decide which tab I want to display. And now
Okay.
we're on 9.6, so I don't know if something changed in 9, 7, 8, 9 that may allow this, but um, and what version are you on here?
I'm on 9.7,
Okay, so
so
it's
it shouldn't
9.8,
be.
I believe that they did the tab where you can programmatically change the tab names, but I don't know that necessarily allows you to do what I'm thinking about doing. So I'd done something like this right here, and then I wrote an active form flow so that when I came into just a real simple one. So on startup, I said instead of having the default tab there on startup, I wanted to just show tab C and
Hmm.
go there. But I can't find a way to actually do that programmatically or
Got it.
within
Okay, so
steps.
yeah, essentially you're looking for a way to
To
change
set, yeah, not
this
only the default,
without
but
having
through
to.
the, yeah, not only the default tab, but be able to manipulate whenever I want to in code, depending on a series of fields or depending on where they're at in the process. I want to be able to dictate what tab I
Which tab
display at that
open
point in time.
displayed. Got it. Hmm. That's definitely very interesting. Let me think
And
here.
I don't know why that wouldn't have been something that would be included, but it doesn't seem to be, unless I'm just missing it somehow. So you would have to be able to do it, yeah, in an active form flow somehow.
Yeah, and obviously you can run the startup, base it off of whatever else.
Right. And if you do a set control on a tab, you'll see you get no options. Like if put a set control there.
It might just because it's a layout though. Well, don't do this to me now, decisions. Why do you always do this when lunch and learn's only lunch and learn time? Okay.
Might be a form rule. Yeah, there's a set control value. So if in here you pick that tab container or any one of those, I guess, and just go ahead and say, now say done, and it gives you no options to change anything.
Right,
Like I can't change the anything. But then if you go to tab container itself, there's no way I can change that tab container and make it physically be on that tab.
right,
Yeah, like if I put C there and now if you run that, it will not set it to tab C.
right. It doesn't actually change what's visual.
No, it doesn't. And I don't, I, if this is an enhancement, I'd like to put one in if as an enhancement if we can, because I would I would think that, that would be a very useful thing for designers to be able to do that behind the scenes.
Right, right. And you said that you thought there was an update that added something like this?
Well, there's 9.8 adds it. No, I don't know that it adds that, but it adds
Oh,
you the ability um, to change the tab names through the flow. So you don't have to
right.
have
Yeah, yeah.
static tab names.
Right. Yeah. That 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 doesn't definitely is not close enough to helping with this.
Yeah, that I don't. So that's why I haven't upgraded that version yet, but I didn't think that was going to do it because it didn't look like that's what it was talking about. Yeah, I've tried that. You can disable and enable different tabs, but what
Hmm.
happens is if you don't physically click on that tab, if you have any fields there, like a text box or something, they don't display. So you've got the tab enabled, but it's not displaying any of your fields. It's not unless you physically click on it that it displays. Like if you were to go on your tab and put a field on there and you hid one tab and displayed the other, you would not see that field until you actually clicked on the tab.
Got it. Interesting. Hmm.
So it's like it doesn't, yeah, it doesn't reckon when you hide and display it, it doesn't recognize it as being active.
Right, right. You just throw this in a flow so I can see how it looks. Form, tabs form. Yeah, I mean, it even is like, if it's the first
Yeah,
tab, it's just selected immediately.
right. And I've tried like in my case, I was just doing with two tabs, but I was like enabling hiding one and displaying the other one, and
Hmm.
but it wouldn't show me any fields that were on that one I was displaying if it wasn't the active tab.
Right. Huh.
It
It's really
just shows
interesting.
you blank tabs, like you
Right,
didn't.
right. Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, it just seems like there's not an option to do that. I don't know if that's something that um not a lot of maybe just not a lot of people have come up with it or have tried to do this kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
obviously,
it must
and I
just
can see
be
where
unique enough.
this would be a kind of a unique situation, but you know, it is something we would definitely utilize if we had it because this solves the. If we could do that, that it would solve the problem of having these vertical scrolls that we have to put in to hide and display a lot of things,
Yeah.
especially if it's a like if I had like a drop down above that that selected something, and based on that drop down, I had to show a whole different type of page. Um,
Hmm.
it would definitely be nice to just like behind the scenes click a tab and show that page instead of um, having to do this big old vertical scroll with different grids and all that stuff in it.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Yeah, I'm it just seems at least the selectability definitely is the interesting thing.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just something that got missed because it's weird to me that you can select a tab and this you can do a set control on the tab, but there's nothing to set.
Yeah, that I think makes sense only because it's not like typically I think that's data, right? Like obviously your set control for your number box is gonna allow you
Sure.
to pick whether it's enabled or disabled, and also if the number box itself has,
Right.
data
But
in it
I'm
and
thinking
stuff.
on the tab container, not
Yeah,
not
it's
necessarily the
it's weird
tab
it
itself,
doesn't
but the
even let you
container.
pick if the whole container is visible or enabled even. That's kind
Right.
of interesting.
But it also has another field of active tab that displays the active tab. So, but you can't set that
But you're saying
on the
it
tab
normally
container.
does?
If you go into the sec, if you go into the, if you look at it through the, yeah, just go in there and pull up the form fields. Yeah, just, yeah, right there. And if pull up the tab container itself, not a tab. Yeah, that one. Now see that the string there, that's the
Oh, I
current
see.
active tab. You can't set that though.
Right.
It'd be nice to be able to set that and make it go to that tab that you're indicating right there.
Hmm. Yeah, interesting.
And it's the same thing with the menu. They work the same way. You can do the vertical or horizontal menu thing, but you can't change the menu item you're on programmatically.
Hmm. uh, even if you could like, obviously it would be like longer. I'm thinking if there's a way to, manually get all the IDs and can like get this value yourself, can you change it?
That
But
I
even
don't
then, if
know.
you can't set the control value, then what do you change? Hmm. Yeah, that's definitely interesting. I don't, yeah, that it must just be something we would need to do some kind of feature request for.
Yeah, could we put in at least ask the question to the development teams to maybe there's a reason they don't want you doing that. I don't know, but
Yeah,
it'd be really
there might
nice to be
be.
able to do that.
Yeah, I'll send a message, ask our devs, see if there's
Yeah,
any
if they
reason
would just
why
allow us to change that
that wouldn't
current active
change.
tab, that would be great. And just go there programmatically versus somebody having to physically click it.
Right, right.
Okay, well
Yeah.
that's
I'll put a message and I'll definitely keep you posted if I hear anything back or if that's something that's uh something
okay.
that maybe just got missed or it has a reason for why we don't do it that way.
Yeah.
I can definitely uh reach back out if I hear anything from them.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Right. So far, that's the only question we've got in the chat today. I'm happy to answer anything else. If anyone else has a question, type it up. Uh, oh, Jeffrey, raising your hand. We can do that too. Go ahead. What's your question?
Yeah, so I know I'm missing this. I'm doing something wrong, but I'm trying to give someone permission to check out from the repository to a website. And I've gone to the folder itself and assigned permissions. That doesn't seem to work. They've logged out and logged back in. They just keep getting the message they don't have permission to check out the site. Could you please show me how you assign a permit that kind of permission?
Do you mean just like use the check in and check out actions from a repository? Is that what you're saying?
Uh, Yes. Yeah. I mean, just specifically to be able to check out. So we have someone who's going to be doing merges and checkouts for us. So I'm
Hmm.
trying to set that person up with those with that permission.
It's really mostly just like if they have the permission to enter projects, which means they'd have to be at least a developer um on the system that you want to be able to check out from, and then obviously have an account. Right. So like since I'm an administrator on my version, I have the check in and check out buttons up here on a project. So but like if they're just a regular user on the system, they're definitely not going to have that because they won't have access to the projects folder. Um, so they need to be, or not developer, designer. So they need to be a part of at least the designer group to be able to have access um to the project folders to be able to check in and check out. And then from there, they just need an account on both the repository and on this system in order to do it. Because you won't be able to do any kind of like check in or check out if you uh, don't have an account on the repository. But simply going to check out, it's going to ask me to provide my password. So then I would have to put the password that's on the repository server. I believe if they're both exactly the same, then it doesn't. That's not required. Um, if like both accounts on this development server or prod server or whatever matches the one on the repository, you might not need to put it in. But as long as they have accounts on both and they have at minimum the design, I think it's the designer permissions is the minimum that they would need. Um, then they should be able to have the action to check out and have the ability to do that. On the
I did so I did confirm that this user has the designer permission. Um, Also, they can click on checkout and it does not prompt them to log in. So I'm assuming that their account credentials match
Yeah,
between
if it goes to the
labor.
next step where it starts to show the import options, then the credentials should be fine.
So I think it goes straight, once they click checkout, I think it goes to the error message saying that they don't have the proper permissions. So, not really sure. I'll have to think of another way to troubleshoot that.
Yeah, so say that again, what the error message tells them.
I apologize. I don't have the error message in front of me, but whatever
No,
the
that's okay.
standard error message is telling you that you don't have permission to check out. I don't, whatever that error message is. I can
Got it.
look it up and maybe send it your way afterwards.
Sure, yeah. I think that there are definitely and I unfortunately I was trying to get a repo server opened up on another tab here, but it's not loading for me right now. And I don't know if my account is not on that server anymore. I just need to double check that. Um, but there are like similar levels of this on a repository server.
Hmm.
So it may be that you need to check those as well and make sure that the user's in the proper groups there. Because I believe there are some groups that may not have the ability to check in or check out on the repository side. I was gonna try to get the specific example for you, but I can't get it open. Um, but it's a very similar to this, but there are groups that are like repository designers and repository administrators. You may need to also make sure that they're in those groups.
Okay. Yeah, I've checked those. He's a member of repository administrators. He's a member, I think he's even a member of administrators. Well, he's not in that group.
Hmm.
Um, but I can I can keep working with that and see if I can figure out what's going on. I've added him just about everywhere I can think to add him. So, but I can send you the error message and
I
maybe we
think
can.
I just did. I think because we have the same issue sometimes. If I'm not logged in as an administrator to our Q&A environment, I can't check out of the repository.
Ah, okay.
Yet my account is an administrator in all of this. So I don't know what's going on there, but the message I just put in the Q&A is the one we get. Um, yeah, I don't know if this is a difference for y'all, but we use SAML CAS, to log
Yeah,
in. So I don't know if that's causing an issue, but yeah, we get
that
the
was
error I
actually going to
just
be
put
my
in the
next
chat.
question is if you had any kind of like authentication stuff that's separate from just the basic decisions one.
Yeah, we do.
That,
And we've got a CAS set up for all the environments and we can get into them fine. It's just when we go to check in and check out, if I'm on a regular user account, throws the error I just sent in the Q&A.
that is yes, that is the error that I get. And yes, we are using SAML uh I think for this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have to
so
sign in as a non-SAML account for me to be able to check out of the repository.
I see. Okay. I'll try adding him to the administrators list to see if
Yeah,
that.
and now it has to be a non-SAML account too.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, you mean
Yeah.
his account? His account. Okay. Okay, I see
Yeah,
what you're saying.
his account would have to, well, the account that he uses. It doesn't necessarily I mean, if you allow him to have like a special call it a repository account that he logs in with, and it's
Mhm.
got the privileges and it's non-SAML, he should be able to do it.
Okay. Okay. I will check that then and see if he is a non-SAML account. Actually, I'm kind of looking through it right now.
yeah, actually Jeremy on the call from the other side has looks like he's actually experienced this before. So if I let you talk if you want to share your thoughts on this.
Yeah, when doing SAML, it doesn't recognize the account as the same in all environments, which is why you're getting that errors, because when you are using a non-SAML account, the username and password are the same on all instances. So
Oh,
it can authenticate on both sides.
okay.
To get that to work, you would have to, on the account in, say, your dev environment, you have to set up, there's a section called other contact details, and there's a contact type called designer repository. Then you specify what account on repository server, the account and password that would authenticate with the repository server.
Oh, and that can be your non-SAML account?
That would be an account on the repository server that has access. You could use a generic account, a system
Right.
account on there, or you could create a dummy account for each of your users to then that's what dev would authenticate with on repo.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's very helpful.
Yes,
I'll
thank you.
Yeah, I figured that out when we converted to SSO. I was working with support to figure out why things weren't working anymore. And there were two paths. You could do it this way, or there's also between your other environments and repo, there's a repo SSO setting,
Okay.
but I didn't take that route. I don't remember the details of that.
Yeah.
Okay. And
And
looking,
again, I do know it works with an account that's set up as non-SSO.
Correct. Yeah, that would
that
be
that
expected.
works too, if that's the way you want to go.
it's
That's what we've chosen to do. We just have a certain account that we use for repository stuff. So
that makes sense. Yeah, and looking at my account now, I do see an other contact details entry. So I'm going to try that with this person and see if that fixes the problem. And also make sure that they're not using a SAML account. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks for jumping in there, Jeremy. All right. Any other questions from anyone today? Okay. Well, then well, we will go ahead and put a pause on the lunch learn for today. Thank you all for joining. Thanks for all the questions. Thank you for jumping in with comments and assists for those that knew stuff about SAML and that kind of thing. We appreciate all the help and appreciate you all joining. That'll be the end of our lunch and learns for this week. We will continue next week as usual. And so back on Monday. If anyone's got any questions, please let us know. Always happy to answer anything you have on Lunch and Learn. I hope you all have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.